welcome to Pathways to Success, a program that supports our micro, small, and medium enterprises here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Filipino architecture is evolving from having foreign influences to more local, culturally rooted designs. This shift reflects a broader trend toward more meaningful and relevant architecture. Since founding Buensalido Architects in 2006, trailblazing architect Jason Buensalido has worked to bring a uniquely Filipino perspective to his projects. And today we're excited to welcome architect Jason Buensalido to the studio. Hi Jason, it's good to finally meet you.
Yeah, thanks Mike for having me today and happy to be here.
Welcome to Pathways to Success. First of all, congratulations on 18 years in the business.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And this year you were awarded Architecture and Design Firm of the Year. Congrats.
Thank you. It was such a surprise because as you know, we recently just relaunched the company as Barkan Architecture, and then this followed shortly after. So, can't complain. Very happy.
Many things happening this year. You're rebranding, the award. But first, tell us about you as an architect. Why did you choose this career?
Right. I think the origin of that is as early as when I was a kid. I loved drawing. I loved drawing up comic books and creating all of these stories and characters. And I thought that actually, to be honest, architecture was just going to be about that, about drawing. But I discovered in college that it was actually the opposite, that architecture was all about philosophy, theory, history, and so on. But what was funny was that the more I discovered about architecture, the more I fell in love with it. So I really discovered it as one of my passions early on.
Yeah, it usually starts as a drawing, right?
Right.
How early were you exposed to art and architecture?
I would say very early on in my childhood because my mom is also very creative. My dad is very crafty, so he's very good with his hands, whereas my mom, on the other hand, loves the arts. And so I remember she would bring me to her own painting classes, which then led me to discover drawing, painting, and so on, which led me to discover music, discover, all of these stage plays, which exposed me to the arts.
It's so nice you were really immersed in all the arts, as a young kid. Yeah. So you topped the architecture board exams in 2005, and you received the gold medal from the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, and that's in 2014. Yeah. Both remarkable achievements. Now, how did these accomplishments shape your early career and influence your professional growth?
Yeah, well, I'd like to start by saying that those two were actually not expected. They were not targeted from my standpoint. Like, for example, for the licensure examination, I remember studying for the boards, but telling myself, I just want to pass, right? After taking the boards, I discovered that I topped it. And then how it affected the business and the practice was that people trusted me more, people gave me projects more because I didn't really have to prove myself, especially in the introductory stage. But of course, in the course of the project, you still have to give your best, right? Now, fast forward to 2014, the gold medal that was given to me by the Ateneo Business School. What that gave us, actually, if the licensure gave us an external kind of effect, this gave us an internal effect in the sense that it gave the company more structure, more processes, because I learned a lot from the business school, which I then applied to the architectural firm. Because in the architectural course, at least in the Philippines, business is not really taught. And so by having that additional knowledge, I was then able to level up the company by introducing processes and structures.
Because it is still a business.
It's still a business at the end of the day.
Let's talk about the birth of Buensalido Architects in 2006.
Yes.
This is when you decided to start your own architectural firm. So what inspired you to create Buensalido Architects?
Well, one of the reasons that I started it was, I think it was because of frustration. When I found myself newly graduated from the School of Architectural, all idealistic, right? I then discovered and learned that the built environment around us was celebrating other cultures, like European cultures, Western cultures, almost to the point that they're hiding our own identity behind all of these foreign styles, right? And so I said, why was that so? when our culture was so beautiful, we're so colorful, we're so vibrant. And so there must be another way to kind of celebrate this through architecture. So I had something to say, and I started Buensalido Architects precisely because of that.
Yes, and you have a distinctly Filipino approach, right? So how did you navigate the challenges of introducing that, the distinctly Filipino approach in a market that was so influenced by foreign styles?
Well, it was difficult at first because, of course, if you're offering a service, it has to have a market match. But then I discovered that during that time, not a lot of people were looking for something that was distinctly Filipino.
Yeah.
So part of the start of Buensalido Architects was to kind of educate the market about other possibilities in relation to design. So one of the things that we did was we published a book called Random Responses. We launched it in 2014 that kind of delineated the different philosophies that I thought was beautiful in our culture that could be applied in architecture and the built environment.
Can you share some innovative design concepts that you've introduced to the local architecture scene?
Well, one of the things that I believe in is that the Filipino culture is, we celebrate different lines of thinking, different mental models. But during that time, I distinctly remember we came up with 4 points of Philippine culture in architecture. So first is responsive vernacular models, being that architecture must simply respond to the current context.
I wish we could talk about the designs that were featured, the video that we're showing. Can you show that again, please? And Jason here would love to talk about that one. It's beautiful. What is this and where was this?
Well, this is a concept that we hope to build by next year. It's going to be a museum for the Cordilleran arts. It's going to be in Lucban. So it's actually going to showcase a private collection of a friend of mine who's also a landscape architect. He has one of the most extensive Cordilleran art collections in the Philippines, and this is going to be a museum.
You have the elements of the rice terraces over there in the facade.
Yeah. So
and
that
this
was
one.
Yeah. This one is one of my favorite projects. It's a standardization of about 140 barangay centers in the 4th district of Pangasinan. Right? So if you'll notice, it's very vibrant, it's very celebratory. That's actually reflecting our culture. Right? As Filipinos, we're very joyful. We celebrate each and every occasion that we go through. In fact, we have a fiesta almost every day in the calendar. And so that vibrancy is one of the things, that optimism is one of the things that we want to reflect in our architecture.
Which design are you most proud of?
I would have to say one of that is the Pangasinan barangay centers, because we all talk about change, positive change, but often we miss out the small opportunities to apply that change, right? And in the Philippines, we have the barangays, which is one of the smallest units of government in the Philippines, and to create that change on sort of that micro level.
Talk about your favorite.
Yeah, this is my second, I guess, most relevant work. This one is called the Interweave. It's actually a vertical campus in Quezon City.
Oh, it's a campus.
Yeah, it's a school. It's called CIIT College of Arts and Technology. And it's significant because it's actually an adaptive reuse project. So we came to it was an existing building, a 4-story building, which we retrofitted, added 4 floors above it, and gave it a new life.
I love how you integrated color into the design, and it stands out.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got so much more to cover in the architectural landscape, but we have to pause for a break. Up next, we will talk about Buensalido Architects and its recent rebranding. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's take a look at today's headline.
Get to know the latest weather update and forecast with information to help us understand important aspects regarding our climate.
You're leading the charge of combating climate change, and you finally experienced it.
More weather updates and stories about the environment, climate change, and disaster preparedness, where we'll stay together whatever the weather.
Weather HQ with Paulo Del Rosario, 9 a.m. on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
Now, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas expects improvements in the country's external payments, leading to a higher surplus. Philippine shares enter bull market territory after surging past the 7,400 level.
Get the latest on the economy and the financial markets, down to each basis point.
Everything is looking good for us. What are your thoughts on this? Given that the tides are changing, how have you revised your target?
Basis Points with Mikey Oreta. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m. on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
Welcome back to Pathways to Success. Still with us is architect Jason Buensalido, founder of Buensalido Architects, now rebranded as Barkan Architecture. Let's discuss the details of this transformation. Jason, so after 18 years of original and innovative design solutions, why rebrand? What led you to this decision?
Yeah, one of the things that I always say is that none of the designs that come out of the office were just designed by one person. So we celebrate collaboration. But then it's kind of unfair to have just one last name on the door. So we took down the last name and then rebranded into this new identity to celebrate collaboration. Secondly, I have a few other partners. And thirdly, what will happen is that no matter who it is at the helm, whoever it is leading the office, whether it's me or somebody else in the future, the mission of the office can continue, can go on.
Tell us about the meaning of Barkan. What's the reason for the name?
Yeah, Barkan, I discovered, is actually a crescent-shaped sand dune, often found in deserts, and it's shaped by the wind. So when I found this word, it was so similar to what I believe that architecture should be, which is that it's essentially just shaped not by wind, but by context. So it's actually very similar in terms of its meaning. So we chose Barkan as our new identity.
It's shaped by nature.
It's shaped by nature, it's shaped by people, it's shaped by
Yes,
culture
yes.
and by context.
And it's like the what you stand for. Like you love your design to tell stories of nature and
Right.
human
Right.
aspirations, right?
Yeah.
So, and you've released a limited edition coffee table
Yes,
book.
that's
It's
right.
entitled Shifting Sands.
That's right.
What does it reveal about your firm's core values?
Yeah, it basically shows to the people, to people reading it, that though we have idealistic concepts, idealistic values, we're still grounded on reality. And so, 2014, we released the first book, which actually captured a lot of our conceptual ideas. 10 years later, 2024, we released this book. Those same projects that were then conceptual are now built. So in these built works, people will now have an idea of what it could potentially mean to have a new kind of Filipino architecture, contemporary Filipino architecture.
And let's talk about this transition. Did you encounter any challenges during the transition, and how were you able to address them?
Yeah, I think just like any change, you will always have a challenge of communication. So like we had to explain to our current clients who Buensalido Architects is versus who, Barkan right now is. So, it's basically a communication challenge, and we try to over-communicate this change. And so far, clients are slowly understanding this transition.
It's remarkable, 18 years in the industry. How do you stay inspired while remaining focused and, aligned with your design philosophy, especially in an industry that's constantly evolving?
Right. I think we've developed a culture within the office wherein we need to always stay curious, and we also want to, always keep on learning. Because if you stay curious, you remain humble, you keep on learning, you stumble upon new ideas, new things that you then integrate into your current practice.
Great advice, but we have to take another quick break. Up next, we'll explore future plans and upcoming projects for Barkan Architecture. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
This is The Scorecard, where you score the latest news and in-depth views. I'm Anton Rojas, and this is tonight's Roundup. On The Scorecard tonight, feel like you're somebody who has that desire. Tell us about your experience. Get ready for a thrilling clash, thrilling hostilities, and keep your eyes on the prize. Sports is our business, and business is our sport. This has been The Scorecard.
10 p.m. on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
It has no authorization.
We hope and pray that it will not rise.
Thanks for having me here.
An orchestrated
By myself, basically. We always say that.
It depends.
A well-concerted effort.
Perhaps I can reiterate.
My greatest beefsteak. Iba na iba pala yun.
Welcome back to Pathways to Success. If you've just tuned in, we're still with Jason Buensalido of Barkan Architecture. Now, Jason, design now is about balancing environmental sustainability with creative innovations. Now, what are your plans for integrating sustainability in your projects?
Well, for us, sustainability is not just it's not just a buzzword, something that you integrate into your projects. I believe it's a standard because as architects, it's our responsibility to be stewards of the resources of this world. So it's almost like a standard in all of our projects.
Yes, and we see it now. It's highly critical in incorporating sustainability in architecture, in design. So, and how do you plan to expand the firm's projects beyond the Philippines now? And what regions or markets are you most excited to explore?
Well, I'm an ASEAN architect. So one of the things that we hope to do is to have projects in the ASEAN countries. So we're slowly positioning ourselves to do just that. But before we leave, the country, of course, we're also kind of positioning ourselves to do more nation-building projects. We want to contribute more to the creation of a stronger identity for the Philippines.
Let's talk about future trends. What future trends do you believe will have the most significant impact on your upcoming projects, and how are you preparing for them?
Right. Well, I think AI is definitely one of the trends that everyone is talking about, regardless of industry. So we're learning AI. We are integrating AI in the process of design and really this conversation that we're having with clients. Second is maybe adaptive reuse, because I do believe that one of the most sustainable ways to go forward or to build forward is to use what's already there. Right? So getting existing buildings and giving it a new life without necessarily tearing them down. So I think those are two trends that we'd like to work on more.
Let's go back very briefly to the evolution of your design, because I'm very interested. I heard you started with black and white and only black and white. So how did you start to incorporate color?
Yeah, there's a famous saying that architects only wear black. And I was no different after graduating. I wore all black. Most of our projects were very monochromatic. But then in 2010, we underwent our first rebranding. So from black and green, which was our corporate color, that was actually the first time we embraced fuchsia as the company color.
Fuchsia.
Yeah, and that was also the time that I got engaged to my wife. So I always joke that she literally brought color into my life.
That's a very good story. Now, what advice now would you give to students currently studying architecture?
So two things. First is that to always stay curious. Stay curious so that you keep on learning. Every kind of learning will lead to a new idea, which will then lead to innovation. The second is to kind of be hyper aware of the world and the surroundings, so that these innovations, these new learnings, you can always make it real and make it tangible and bring it into reality.
There's also a lot to learn about what's going on around us, right?
Yeah.
And as an architect who also manages a successful business, what key lessons have you learned in running this business?
I think one of the things that you have to be is adaptable. We live in a world that's ever-changing, and it's not just ever-changing, it changes so fast. And so if you're kind of fixated on this system, idea, whatever it is, and you're not able to adapt to the ever-changing world, then you'll be left behind. So always be open, always be hyper-aware, and always be adaptable.
Well, with so many accomplishments in this industry, any more life missions or missions in your career perhaps that have yet to be realized?
It's always been my dream to create or to be part of a piece of architecture that 2,000, 3,000 years from now, when people living then will look back and try to understand who we were as a civilization, that they will able to do so because of that piece of architecture. Something that would represent our dreams, our hopes, our challenges, our aspirations.
Yes, it's not just about preserving memories, but also leaving a legacy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, are there any exciting events or announcements you'd like to share?
Well, every year we actually organize a contemporary architecture and arts festival called Babel. So we're organizing and planning that now, so stay tuned.
When is this going to be?
We're targeting maybe November or December.
That's certainly something to look forward to. Thank you, Jason, for joining us today. It's nice to pick your brain. Thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you.
And that is our episode today. Remember, every step you take is a step towards greatness. Thanks for watching Pathways to Success. I'm Mai Rodriguez. See you again tomorrow here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break, but breaking news, biggest stories, and latest updates.
15,000 teddy bears to pay tribute to the children killed in Gaza. Tensions in the West Philippine Sea reaching the skies. Hong Kong reclaims its spot as Asia's top financial center.
Mai Rodriguez, newsfeed at noon on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
The breadth of anime and what it covers is so broad, from romance to action-adventure to sci-fi to magical girl. There's something for everybody.
I love this convention so much. It's so much fun. I get to see all my friends here. It's basically I have a deep love for animation and anime itself.